There's a reason we call ourselves the Pokemon Masters Council. Welcome to Pokemon Masters Council. I'm your host, Gym Leader Justin. I've got my co-host, Zero. Say what's up, buddy.
Hey, everybody. How's it going?
As the title of the video, with real life and everything, it's true. We went from Expert 1 to Master rank in 2 weeks. We both work full-time. Zero's got a couple of kids at home, so we did it, and you can too. Doug also hit Masters, as you can see. So definitely big shout-out. So the three of us now, we're really happy about it. And as you could see in the thumbnail, primarily we ran basically one combo the whole time, Zero. What was it?
Yeah, we ran a lot of Alolan Ninetales and Blastoise, and we're going to talk a little bit about Pokemon selection and how important it is in your run to Masters. You're definitely going to want to tune in and check that out.
So, we've got a couple of tips today. We're just going to run through them. The big thing is always be prepared to adapt. That's sort of like the 1,000-foot view of this video. Don't ever go into ranked with the mindset of this is what I'm doing. You go into it, this is what I want to do, sure, but like you always have to be prepared to adapt. That's sort of, I guess, the theme of the video, right?
Yeah, definitely.
So let's get into it. Let's talk about our first tip of the day. Mastered Pokemon only. So limit your Pokemon pool to Pokemon that you feel comfortable with, that you have played X number of games, you've really practiced, you know the ins and outs of your build. It's not a question of, oh, am I going to go move A or move B, or should I try this item or that item? None of that testing should be happening in ranked necessarily. You should do that in standard. Figure out what you like, figure out what you're good at, and get practiced up.
Yeah, you definitely don't want to be taking the characters that are being, brought up to you for like events or bonus battle points or whatever the case may be. You should only be taking in characters that you are good at. And the next point, Justin, I think that we want to make is you should be ready to have a character mastered for every role, right?
Correct. That's a big thing. Like, you need to be able to play every role on the map before you even click ranked. So if you're going in saying, oh, I only play supporters or I only play attackers or something, well, then you're not ready for ranked. And our advice would be don't play ranked, because it's a detriment to everyone else on your team if you can't fill the role that needs to be filled.
Yeah, you definitely have the standard mode for you to get in a groove with a set amount of characters, and standard is great for learning what characters you like and what builds you like. A lot of that testing should be done in standard or in the practice mode, and then once you're feeling really good with those characters, one from every class, you're ready to hit the ranked ladder.
Exactly. Second tip of the day, prepare to fill or prepare to fail. If there's one thing that we know about the random players online, that we call them randies because they're just the random people we don't know. It's not your friends in a queue, right?
Affectionately.
Yeah. Affectionately, the randies are always going to try to play damage. Everyone just wants to play damage.
Yes.
So
this is the biggest tip that we have in this whole video.
Let them.
Let them.
Don't try to fight for it. Don't try to argue. Don't just be like, oh, I'll play damage too. No. This is still a MOBA. You still need certain tools for team fighting aspects of this game, which is we'll talk about later. But, the objectives of this game, there's a lot of team fighting to be had in this 10-minute round. You still need a tank. You still need some supportive elements, whether some sort of utility, whether it be CC or increased buffs or shielding or damage or range, or like you need tools other than just point, click, and deal damage.
4 out of 5 games that you guys are going to play on the ranked ladder, someone out there, a majority of your team is going to lock in. Somebody's going to call Central Area, they're going to take Talonflame or Absol, and then the other 2 or 3, depending on who you're playing with, if you're playing with anyone at all, are going to lock in attackers or all-rounders. You have to be ready to play tanks and supports because they will give you the best chance at winning the game. A well-rounded team gives you the best chance of winning the game. You need, like Justin said, certain tools. You need that CC. You need to be able to push people off the goal so your greedy teammates can score.
Exactly.
Enable that. Enable the damage.
And it's he says greedy, but it's actually not a negative connotation. This is actually, there's certain times in games where it's you're supposed to be selfish because that's
Exactly.
the objective. So like for Brandon's personal play style right now, he's not using Score Shield on Ninetales. So
No.
I know that one of the things that I need to be aware of is that the only time he's going to be able to score is if the enemies are either dead or pushed off the goal. So that's one of the things that we lean into, and that's a combo and a play style. I know that I'm not going to make him change his play style. I'm just going to adapt to what he has. And I'll just play a tank that is really good at CC and pushing people off goals.
Yeah. So characters I think that we would suggest for this is obviously like Blastoise, Wigglytuff, Eldegoss. Any other ones?
Yeah, so if you're looking at tanks, definitely high horsepower Mamoswine can push people off goals, or Hornleech from Trevenant can push people off goals greatly.
Yeah. So Justin, do we want to talk about adapting to some of the things that your teammates might do that you don't have control over, like lanes and jungle assignments?
Yeah, I mean, there's been many times. So we go into our game plan for this ranked mission for the past 2 weeks is basically, if we can, we're going to go Ninetales, Blastoise, bot lane. That's our, like, rub the magic lamp, get a wish. That's what we get every game, right?
Yep.
But there were plenty of games where that wasn't the case. And what did we have to do? We had to adapt. There were times where somebody else called bot, and we had to go top. There are some times where once we got into a game, somebody would, steal Brandon's experience in lane, and then Zero would have to go out and actually. There's a couple times where you had to go clear out jungle farm as Ninetales, and at first we were a little hesitant. It felt weird. Ninetales isn't really one of your jungle picks.
No.
But what ended up happening was you got to your Auroraville, I think by or right before I even dinged 5 for War Turtle. And you already had Auroraville, so I was like, oh, hold on, wait a minute. Like, we know how to use this once you have Veil.
Yep.
It's the same combo. It's just more, so like and because the map is so small and the games are so quick, be willing to adapt. It's just 10 minutes. And then next game, maybe you'll get what you want.
Yeah. When you're in the character select, say 2 of you call bottom, 1 of you calls jungle, and 1 calls top, but then someone doesn't call a lane at all. Don't assume that person is going to go top to fill that role. You have to have a plan in place before the game starts. So if that person doesn't call a lane while the screen is loading, you need to figure out, okay, if this person goes bottom, and we have 3 bottom, is the person going top going to be okay going solo, or should I peel off? Should I pick a character that pairs well with that person who's up top? You gotta be ready to make those adjustments and assessments before the game even starts. And then, like Justin said, in the very, very rare case that someone doesn't take jungle, maybe you have to take jungle on a character that you wouldn't normally jungle with, like Alola Ninetales.
Exactly. And that'll be leading us on to our next tip here. You have to make sure you should always be calling your lanes. There's a reason that they put out a big giant sign that shows the map with it might as well be a glowing neon blinking lights in your face. And there's so many times where people just Randy's won't call lanes, or they'll call lanes and then go somewhere else anyways. Like, call your lanes and stick to them.
Yep. Call your lanes, put yourselves in a good, nice, organized position before the game even starts.
And our next tip after that is going to be, obviously, focus on objectives. Zero.
Yeah.
How do you win a game of Unite?
You win objectives.
How do break it down even further. How do you win a game of Unite? At the end, how do you tell who won and who lost?
You score the most points.
Exactly. Score the most points. That's the game, right?
Yes.
It's like a game of football. Whoever scores the most points wins. You're trying to block me from scoring points. I'm trying to block you from scoring points while also scoring points ourselves. It's literally the same thing. Just any sport you've ever played, any ball sport we've ever played. But in this game, because it's a MOBA, there are secondary objectives, not just the goals. And obviously, for people that don't know, it's Dreadnought, Rotom, and Zapdos. Now, Dreadnought and Rotom both spawn at the same time. Rotom at the top, Dreadnought at the bottom. You should all know this already before you even clicked ranked, right? So, Zero, if you're top lane, at what point should you start to be thinking about the objectives?
Well, objectives spawn at 7 minutes. So at 7 minutes and 30 seconds, if you're top lane, you should be ready to rotate down to Dread, especially if you still have a goal open.
Exactly. And why is first Dread so important?
First Dread is really important because it gets you ahead on experience, whereas Rotom does not.
Yes, and the values are more are higher on Dreadnought early, and they dip off later.
Yep, you get your ultimates earlier, you get experience, you get shields, you create the snowball effect by winning the first Dread. And by winning the first Dread, that allows you to cap the bottom goal if you haven't already, and then rotate to the top as a team to cap the top goal if you have not already.
And you start what the PMC calls the pendulum effect, where you rotate bot, then you rotate top, and now we spread back to farm, and then bot, and then top, and it's just sort of swinging the whole game.
If you guys get Dread, and your opponents have to use, and if they get Rotom, but they only use it to cap your first goal, you have won the early game exchange. You are ahead on tempo and experience, and you've got your ultimates, you're ready to go. So let's move on to the second set of objectives, Justin.
Yeah, so at when they spawn again, after you kill them, obviously, they'll spawn, 2 minutes later?
I believe so.
The second Rotom that spawns, this one is more situational. So the first Rotom you don't really care about.
No.
At 7 minutes. The second Rotom is situational. And now what do I mean by situational? Now, it depends on the game state. It depends on the game state of the board. So when you look at the map, do we have our outermost top goal still up? Like, have they capped it yet or no? If they have not capped our top goal, our first goal yet, we still don't care about Rotom as much as Dreadnought. Dreadnought still, because that means we're still ahead in points. That means we're still ahead in map pressure. And presumably we're ahead still in experience. So we want to go for a Dreadnought again and continuously choke them out and starve them out of that juicy experience that the second Dreadnought still gives a good amount of. And then again, pendulum back up to that. And if they get Rotom, all they're getting is a top goal.
Yeah.
Is a first goal. So it's still not at halfway through the game, you don't care. Fine, they can have it. Because the later the game goes, the harder it is to defend those outside goals, and at the 2 minute mark, obviously with double scoring, it's really easy for enemy teams to go dunk a cheeky 50 in those outside goals. We've done it all the time.
So Justin, tell us about a situation where we want to take the second Rotom.
Second Rotom is super important if, in the other situation, if our top goal is gone. That's basically your decision point. Is our top goal up? Our first top goal up? Yes or no? Then that will dictate sort of if you should or should not go to Rotom. Because if the goal is down and they get the Rotom, now they're pushing in and you have a super backline defense. They're pushing across that line of scrimmage and across that halfway part of the goal, or a halfway part of the map, and they're pushing into your second tier goals. They're gonna be able to dunk super big. That's, you know what I mean? And vice versa, we want that.
Exactly.
You want to go on the offense, because if you won the bottom Dread and you're keeping up that tempo, you want to keep hitting that gas pedal. So you get that Rotom, they can go have the Dread now. They missed out on the first Dread, they can have this one. Because while they're bot getting Dread, we're pushing a Rotom now into their top second tier goal. And where somebody like Brandon, like I said, doesn't take Score Shield on his Ninetales, boom, insta dunk.
Yes.
So really, really powerful for both defense and offense. It's just, you have to be able to adapt. That's, again, like the whole theme of the video. And rounded out here, we'll talk about the very last objective that spawns, which is obviously at the 2 minute mark. old Geats himself, Zapdos, drops down in the middle. Basically, this is like your dad or your grandpa's old saying here. If you're on time, you're late.
Exactly. You make an excellent point here. You do not want to be showing up at the 2-minute mark or after the 2-minute mark of the Zapdos fight. This is the most important fight of the game. This is the most pivotal moment of the entire 10 minutes, is who wins this fight. Sometimes wiping an enemy team can force an instant surrender, so you have to be ready for the ambush. You have to be ready to deal a lot of damage. Hopefully you've got your ultimate in your pocket and lots of points.
And that's why we talk about going for the last spawn of these three is in conjunction with the Zapdos. Because this is why we do not go for the last Dreadnought. The last Dreadnought gives you almost nothing in terms of valuable stats this late in the game. And also, just as much, if not more important, is the fact that Rotom is so powerful late game. Because
if you have the choice.
Yes, it applies the split push.
Yes. If you have the choice, if there's time between Dreadnought and Rotom, and you've got time to cap one, you have to go take Rotom.
100%.
Because
if you go to Dreadnought, you are doing it wrong.
Yeah, you need to go to Rotom. You need to have that pressure up top to peel people off of the Zapdos fight. Or, if they decide to go to the Zapdos fight, they will leave a goal open for instant double scoring
and
for someone to peel off.
And if we've already scored top from the second Rotom, now it's into their middle of the base. So they're gonna... It basically almost auto means that they're not gonna have 5 people at the bird.
Yep, so that creates a numbers advantage for you at the Zapdos fight, and a numbers advantage for you is good because that person's going to show up late. Yeah, especially when they let their tank handle the Rotom. That's an insta win right there for you.
Yeah, because then we just go super ham at the bird fight and pop all our ultis and kill all the squishies.
Yeah. So Justin, do we got any late game tips about defense?
Yeah, so basically the last thing we want to talk about here before our last tip of the video is basically if it's a close game and you're not sure because there's no scoreboard, don't leave the goals.
Don't even walk off them.
Don't walk off the goals because so many games in our 2 weeks were people... where sometimes we didn't even lose the game, but it was still close. It was like, we don't want to have that stress.
Right.
But don't walk off the goal. So many Randies will like, just go try to farm. And it's like, no. You don't need that. Just defend.
Exactly.
But that's pretty much it. So the last tip of the video, this is sort of an optional one. It depends on your personal gaming group or your schedules or whatever. But try to duo or trio queue in ranked. You're going to have so much easier of a time. Now, we did play solo during this couple of weeks because, obviously we have different work schedules. You got kids. But I'd say 75% of our games were played together.
Yes.
But even I think my worst solo day was like 3-1 or 4-1. I think I only lost one game each day that I played solo queue. So you can do it solo for sure. But duo or trio just makes it that much easier on your own mental stress, so it doesn't feel like such of a grind.
Right.
And that's pretty much going to wrap it up here. That's our tips for Masters. That's what we did with 2 weeks. We both work full-time. He's got kids, and we managed to do it. So you really just have to find the characters that you're good at, be able to fill, and just know that the whole point is to win the game at the end. And using your objectives and using the pendulum effect that we taught you here to your advantage.
So we hope this video helps you guys out. This is how we reach Masters in 2 weeks. You can do it too, solo, duo, or trio. It doesn't matter. Just like we said, learn to adapt and prioritize your objectives the right way. And we'll see you guys out there in Masters.
Until next time, I'm Justin.
And I'm Zero.
Council is adjourned.